Good morning. Reading aloud. No More Silence by Carolyn Burkholder. This is my story. Have you been sexually abused, or are you currently being abused? I wrote this book for you. Do you want peace? Someone to protect you? To feel worthy of love? Someone to believe your story? Someone to cry with you for what was taken away? To stop feeling cold and alone? To believe you're not guilty? To be viewed with respect? To be told not to be quiet? To feel God's love in your heart, not just in your head? There is hope. You are not alone. Carolyn. This book has been printed in the Campbell Print Center of Harrisonburg, Virginia. Copyright 2012. To order a book for yourself, contact Carolyn Burkholder, 9471 Elmer Road, Lyons, New York, 14489. Dedication. This book is dedicated to you who have been or are being sexually abused and are living with the death of silence. I will speak for you until you are strong enough to find your own voice. And to you who are no longer living in silence, I am proud of you. We are making a difference in the world. Innocent Ones by B. Gerber. Innocent ones, sitting on a bench, hair neatly parted, washed and pressed, spick and span, appearing so well cared for. Their eyes look at me, blue, green, and brown. Can I look back? Can I see inside their heart? God sees the hearts, hearts crying for a gentle voice. God sees the spirits, spirits cowering from unspeakable evil. God sees the bodies, bodies carrying pain from ungodly attacks. God turns to me and asks, who will stand strong against the evil one? Who will boldly claim these children for me? Who will tell them the truth? Who will comfort them and show them my powerful love? Will you? Preface. You may never have uttered a word to anyone about what has happened or is happening to you. Maybe you've opened up to someone you thought could help, but instead they did not believe you. Perhaps they made you feel like you committed the unpardonable sin by saying that this well thought of, upstanding person in your church did this to you. God forbid. Have you heard someone say, don't you know you will be judged on the final day for slandering? Were you told to be quiet? Did you go away feeling more shame and condemnation than if you'd never spoken up? Were you called a liar? I want you to know this. Silence kills. Secrets destroy. I lived that way for many years. On the outside, I looked like a normal, functioning human being. But on the inside, I was like a person with leprosy. I was being eaten away spiritually and emotionally, and I didn't even realize it was happening. Parts of me, as anybody who has been sexually abused knows, were numb and falling off, and I didn't see it because I was fighting so hard to look normal. We've heard it preached that what happened in the past stays in the past and doesn't affect who we are now if we have asked Jesus to forgive us. We don't even realize the lies because we think it's our fault. We are not guilty of our own sexual abuse. And we don't have to ask Jesus to forgive us for it. We are innocent. We'll never heal unless we take care of our wounds. They'll fester and grow, and slapping bandages on them won't make it stop. We need the surgeon to lance the wounds, let out the pus, and apply a soothing cream and bandage. That doesn't end the healing process, though. Next comes our physical therapy. Though it's necessary, the pain will, for a time, increase as we again use that which was damaged. Even after it's fully healed, there will be a scar we will never forget. Rest assured, there are people who will believe, protect, and help you. If you told someone you trusted and they shoved you down and shamed you, I am so sorry. Please don't build another wall, one that's higher and stronger. I invite you to take another step of faith. Find someone else and talk. I, for one, believe you. I won't shun you. I know it's not your fault. Do you think by being quiet you're protecting yourself or the abuser? The abuser needs God, and he won't stop with you. I'm sure you don't want another innocent child to be hurt. Consider this. Would you want your siblings or close friends to experience what you did? Unless you persist, this abuse will continue. They don't stop. If we who have been abused or are being abused don't talk until someone listens to us, there are others who will be cast aside by the side of life's road. They'll slowly twist and turn in pain. Their eyes will glaze over. They'll plead for help, while no one stops to tenderly pick them up and carry them to the great healer. We owe it to them. We owe it to ourselves to keep on talking. My name is Carolyn, and I was sexually abused. Whew! I got that out. You who know this evil also know the strength it takes to say those 4 words. It's much easier to simply say, my so-and-so, dad, brother, cousin, uncle, grandpa, best friend, messed with me. It was as much my fault as his. This is normal. He just touched me. Much worse things have happened to some people. Or maybe you say, it never happened. Why is it so hard to admit to sexual abuse? Is it a fear that no one will understand and protect you? So you feel it's best to stay quiet? Is it because people will smack you for uttering those 4 horrible words? Or even suggesting this happened to you? After all, they say, my so-and-so dad, brother, grandpa, cousin, etc. messed around with me and it hasn't affected my life. You may feel admitting you've been abused makes you look weak. You may not want to acknowledge you were killed in every way except physically. By saying it out loud, you fully enter the world of reality, and that is scary. Whatever your story is, be bold. You will find healing. Acknowledgement. To God, my creator and best friend, you knew before time that I would be born on January the 12th, 1976. You knew the atrocities that would take place in my life. You wept before anyone else even knew or cared enough about me to weep. You loved me before I could love myself. You were always there, even when I did not know it. I remember when I first heard your voice. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, thank you. Thank you for placing so many friends in my path. I love you, and I can't wait to spend eternity with you. To Marvin, my husband, I love you so very much. I want the whole world to hear that because I do not tell you enough. A simple thank you is not strong enough for standing by me when I hit you physically and emotionally. Thank you, too, for believing in me when I did not believe in myself. Our marriage is not unique, and by letting me be honest, it will show others they are not alone, and there is help. God works mightily through truth, never lies. To my beautiful children, Austin, Shantae, and James, you are my light and shining stars. You guys gave me the oomph to say those 90-foot, 2,000-pound words. I need help. I love you so much, and because of that love, I could start the slow, wobbly path to healing. I am blessed to be your mom. To my sister Brenda, you were the one who kept telling me my story must come out. You have prayed with me, over me, for me, and you have given me strength as I watched your fight, your own demons. You have come through a new person. To Gerald, my bestest friend in the world, as I like to say, you who as a child had to watch me being sexually abused, and now as an adult will not sit quietly on the sidelines while thousands of tormented, crippled humans walk by. I am so proud of you and the message you have to give the world. To my sister Suzanne, you have cried for me when I could not. Thank you. Remember sitting on the couch late one night when I finally told you about my sexual abuse? Was that only 4 years ago? It feels like a lifetime. I am blessed to have you as my sister. You three have been the best brother and sisters a girl could ever wish for. You have given me the courage to continue talking. You have been my cheerleader, prayer warrior, and champion. Each of you, at one time or another, have gone to bat for me. You have as much passion as I do to break this chain of sexual abuse. I thank God for you. To Rosine, you have been like a sister to me. Watching you walk your own journey has given me the strength to keep putting one foot in front of the other. You were always excited to come home from work and read whatever I had written that day. Now you can read it from start to finish. Thank you for helping to type up the manuscript. I love you. Rachel, dearest friend, whom I have only known for a short time, yet it feels like we've always been friends. Thank you, too, for helping to type up this manuscript, and for being the middleman with my editors. Thank you for being willing to email it to friends and family when I called. How many more gift cards am I allowed to give you as my way of saying thanks? To Hope Ann, who I've never met. Yet the first time we talked, I felt a connection. Thank you for being willing to take on the daunting task of editing, but then for having the courage to say you'd bitten off more than you could chew. Thank you for continuing to pray that I would find someone to edit my book. And then along came Stephanie, who edited my book. You and I have never met either, but the first time we talked, you understood why this book must be put into the hands of individuals who need to hear my story. You said that it is written with honesty, which is exactly what I want. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing your part in helping get this book out. Introduction. I was born on January the 12th, 1976 in Listowel, Ontario, Canada. I grew up on a dairy farm with 5 siblings. Dad was an ordained minister in the Conservative Mennonite Church of Ontario long before I was born. Bible stories and prayer were always parts of our lives. Our family had devotions in the morning, and a half hour later, we all had them together at school. We did Bible memorization every week. We went to church Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and Wednesday evenings. We had a full week of revival meetings in the summer. I remember attending Bible conferences, all-day meetings, and weekend meetings. We had summer Bible school for the children in July. We were saturated with Bible teaching. We knew all about the new birth experience. We knew we couldn't do anything to earn our salvation. We were taught the importance of a personal prayer life. We sang hymns about how Jesus loves us, hears us, and accepts us just as we are. We were taught that sex is only for marriage, and many, many other Bible truths. We were taught all of that, and it was reinforced by many preaching messages. Yet we were not shown by example. I would like to say I had a near idyllic childhood, in which the most traumatic event was seeing my 5-year-old sister have her arm twisted off in a swather when I was 3 years old. However, I must make a decision. Will I live in a dream world, or will I live in reality? I choose reality. That means I need to admit I had my innocence stripped from me at a very young age. Some find it hard to believe I didn't grow up in a home where my parents hated me, neglected my physical needs, and had nothing to do with Christianity. They think my parents must have been drug addicts who only used the Lord's name as a swear word. Wrong, wrong, wrong. I have 2 parents who taught me about God. I had many enjoyable times with my brothers and sisters. We built snow forts, rode bikes, and watched meteor showers. Our family traveled together on trips. We went to the Toronto airport, the Hamilton Rock Gardens, and Niagara Falls. We also traveled to different parts in the United States where my dad preached. I had the opportunity to make new friends, and at one point I had 40 pen pals I kept up with. Mom would always make me a new dress for Easter Sunday and another for the first day of school in the fall. Mom instilled in me the love of reading and was always buying books. But just because a family looks healthy to the people around them does not mean that's the case. There are many parents who love their children, but who do not connect with them emotionally. Perhaps they've had hurts in their own lives, which they refuse to acknowledge. They tell themselves it's all in the past. However, due to these open wounds, they are incapable of connecting with their children deeply. We are left instead with a family who lives in a fantasy world. Anyone who threatens that fantasy is labeled rebellious, insecure, mentally unstable. Children who are abused experience a change in their God-given personality. There is no way they can stay happy and carefree when their innocence is taken from them, stolen. They no longer feel safe and secure. As a child, I grasped for control in any area I could. During kneeling prayer at church, I would look under the bench and see the rows of black shining shoes. Whose should I choose? Not the lady who wore tie shoes. Those I could not pull off. Not the lady who would laugh and snicker, thinking it was funny. I chose my target, and quicker than you could say Jack Sprat, I had her shoe off her foot and beside me. I grinned. I could picture her groping for the shoe magically disappeared. I would very kindly return the shoe right before the amen was said. After a while, ladies got smart and when they felt a hand on their shoe, they would curl their toes tightly so it wouldn't come off. In a flash, I'd snatch the other shoe. I always got a rush outsmarting them and knowing they were angry. When we stood up from prayer, I wore a sober expression, like I had really been listening to the prayer. I sat beside Mom looking like the most well-behaved child, but inside myself I was laughing hysterically. At the end of the service, the woman in question would tell my mom in hushed tones what had happened, all the while glancing over at me. I knew she wished she could discipline me herself. I also knew I would get a spanking when I got home, but that was no deterrent. It was too much fun, and the angrier the ladies got, the better for me. In school, I almost had my classmates believing I was adopted. If it hadn't been for my teacher saying how much I looked like Dad, I think I could have gotten away with it. I used to dream about going through the desk in Dad and Mom's bedroom and finding a birth certificate bearing my biological name. I didn't want to be related to my oldest brother. Maybe it would make more sense for him to be abusing me if I wasn't related. His biological sister. It was just gross otherwise. And I felt like a freak. I wanted to be like my friends. They didn't have to deal with what I went through. I wanted my greatest fear to be riding an old bike to school, not fearing my brother was waiting to grab me as soon as my back was turned. One evening, while he and I were milking, he told me a new family was moving into the area and had a boy my age. He was squatting down by one of our cows, putting the milker on, when he added, "But he'll never like you." I was so mad that he thought he owned me, but at the same time I knew he was likely right. If the boy knew what was happening to me, he would be repulsed. Even so, I wanted people to know I didn't want to be abused. I enjoyed revival meetings because the evangelists usually spoke about hell. I got shivers of delight when he would say, "Tonight I'm going to talk about hell." I'd take out my paper and pen from my purse and start taking notes. The more dramatic he got, the faster my pen would fly. Sulfur that would choke you, fire that could not be extinguished. My brother would have no control over me once I was in hell. It wouldn't matter how much he cried and begged God to make it stop. It would continue forever. Yes. I was powerless to stop him now, no matter how much I pleaded. I dreamed about taking Dad's .22 and blowing his brains out, or taking a pitchfork and stabbing him over and over just to hear him plead for mercy. I knew he was stronger than me, though, and would hurt me so badly I would want to die. Yet if I killed him, I would face my parents' wrath, and in my mind, that was 1,000 times worse than what he was doing to me. So I'd scribble madly while an evangelist spoke, and in my heart I knew someday my brother would be in hell forever. and I would be vindicated. One day, Dad made me wear a horrible olive green kerchief as a punishment. I was boiling mad. I wore it only until I was out of sight of the house. Then I tore it off and stuffed it in my backpack. It was cold that day, and my ears almost froze walking to school. My teacher asked if I'd forgotten my headscarf, and I said I had. She rooted through the lost and found and pulled out a white one. For some reason, Dad came to school during recess. He never came unannounced, and saw me wearing that white kerchief. Horrors. He had a talk with the teacher. After that, I had to wear the horrible green kerchief for an entire week. I didn't feel guilty for lying, only angry that I had been found out. No punishment, no matter how severe, could make me sorry for my sin. I actually became angrier and more rebellious. I had so much anger and rebellion inside me, I could have exploded. But no one cared enough to find out why. I knew I was trouble, but I wanted people to love me for being skinny, freckled, hyperactive Carolyn, not for being who they thought I should be. I felt accepted when I heard people comment on how fast I could run. At the end of each school year, we had a picnic, and each grade had its own foot race. I usually won, and what motivated me was hearing people say, "I came here just so I could watch Carolyn run like the wind." There were so many things people couldn't understand about me. They thought I knew better than to act the way I did. I could stare a boy down when he looked at me. I could jump over a bench at church when people were blocking either end, and I didn't want to say excuse me. I could sit on a guy's lap without feeling I was doing something wrong. Most of the things I didn't do to be a show-off or to be fresh, but because my body, soul, and spirit were being taken from me time after time, and I didn't know how to be a whole person. I felt I wasn't worth anything except for male pleasure, and that I had no right to claim my body for myself. I felt I had no choice in what was happening to me. I figured it was all because of the anger within me. If only I could be a calm, respectful girl like Brenda. Then my brother wouldn't sexually abuse me. That made me mad because I didn't want to be like Brenda. She had no backbone, no opinion of her own. She tried to please everyone. I was told if I was more like her, my life would be so much easier. I wanted to scream. Only by kicking and screaming could I stay sane. There were other times I'd crawl inside my brain and say, "This is no big deal. I will never remember it. It won't hurt me. If I don't think about it, it's like it never happened." But my will to have control of my life kicked in, and I again became a wild child. Every child wants her parents to know when something isn't right, without having to spell it out for them. Parents know everything, don't they? They're adults. They should have seen from my back-talk and fighting that I wanted help and protection. I tried my very best to get their attention. Once, when I was upstairs in the hall, my brother grabbed me and I screamed, "Mom!" But he tried to cover my mouth. I managed another scream. I wanted her to come and save me. All she did was yell up the stairs, "Stop bugging Carolyn." A little bit more of me died in that moment. The older I got, the angrier I became inside, and the more it showed outwardly. I enjoyed scaring people, startling them, and one evening I was antsy and wanted to be bad and shock someone. I saw a flyer lying on the kitchen table that said, "This is your last chance. Come to GNC for your last order." Then I added, "Oinka doinka schnoinka." I went around the table chanting it. My family laughed, never realizing how close I was to slipping over the edge. The demonic power that was hovering over me, waiting, always waiting for me to let it loose, got the best of me. I put my hands on top of my head, shaped my fingers into horns, and immediately a power surged through my arms and into my fingers. I wouldn't have been surprised to see bolts of electricity shooting from my fingertips. My whole body changed, and I became one with this being. I was amazed my family didn't scream in fright. They just continued to snicker and laugh. Deep down inside my gut, I was afraid. But at the same time, it was beautiful because I was in tune with a power stronger than humans. I chased Brenda around the table, fiendishly shouting, "This is your last chance! Come to GNC for your last order! Oinka doinka shnoinka!" She screamed in fright. I was really getting into it, and I could feel I was no longer Carolyn. "Carolyn, stop," Mom said. And by some miracle, I did. As soon as my hands left my head, I could feel the power slowly draining out, and I returned to my body. Wow, this is exciting. I can do this now when I feel out of control, I thought. It was like a hidden jewel kept where no one could see, where no one could take it away from me. It was mine, all mine. I didn't let myself dwell on the scary part. After all, I was in control. I knew how long I could keep my hands in that position without slipping over the edge, never to return. Always belonging to Satan. I used it different times after that. Brenda was the only one I could scare. Mom and Dad, who should have understood what it was, only viewed it as bugging or pestering my siblings. Sometimes I accepted the fact I was being sexually abused by reasoning, at least he wasn't hurting my little sister, Suzanne, who was 7 years younger. I didn't stop and think just because he was sexually abusing me didn't mean he wouldn't do it to someone else. There were times I was so angry at him, I wanted to tell Mom and Dad just to shock them, but I knew it wouldn't accomplish anything. so I kept quiet. I also thought of calling social services. In my mind, they were the only adults who could stop the abuse. But I knew they would split up my family. I thought they'd take me away and put me in a foster home. That I'd never see my friends and family again. Therefore, I didn't call social services. I loved my family. All I was asking for was for protection. I wanted my abuser for a brother, not as someone who used me for his pleasure. I did feel sorry for him because it seemed like no one liked him. He had struggles in school and hadn't made many friends and didn't feel accepted at church. There was also a rivalry between him and Merlin, who was 15 months younger than himself and more outgoing. I considered all that, and that there was no way I could call social services. I spent years thinking the only people who could protect me were unbelievers. I felt shamed by the most important people in my life, my next of kin and friends. I got my first diary, Christmas 1983, as a gift from Helen Wiebe. I wrote in it sporadically until July 14th, 1986. There were many days I wrote simply, "Don't remember," or "Brenda won't tell me what to write." '83. She was born in 76, right? Yes. "6 years old she got it, and she wrote until she was 12. No, 9, sporadically. I wrote nothing after July 14 until I was 14 years old. That was when my journal became my best friend. I could never write about my sexual abuse because someone might read it and find out. I wrote a lot about my feelings, my relationships with my family and friends, and how I loved the cats. The cats were my outlet when I felt lonely. Just to have one curled up on my lap purring was healing. They never took something from me. They were just there. Chapter 1, page 1. January 11, 1992. Tomorrow I will be 16. Wow, I wish I looked like it. I dread my birthday because everyone says, 16? February 7, 1992. Dad talked to me today and asked if there was anything keeping me from accepting Christ. I couldn't tell him. They're such little things, yet so big. One is that I cannot pray. Dad and Mom think it's dumb when I tell them that I can't. But it isn't funny either. It's something I could bawl about. Another thing is people, especially Mennonites, and the ones who go to church. They say, "I was praying for a long time, and I'm so glad you've made this decision." Not that they truly care about me, but more how their prayers really worked. Maybe that shouldn't get to me, but it does. Another thing, I will always be flunking and talking back. I will be another Charles, and I don't want that. I would rather not become a Christian at all. March 8, 1992. The India Committee was here this afternoon. Irma Bender asked how old I was. 16. 16? My! I feel dumb, but it's not my fault. March 9, 1992. I was going to write about something that happened this morning, but I want to make sure I don't miss out on a popcorn snack. So I'll tell you about it later. Behold, I'm back again after only a few minutes and some ear tugs. It started this morning when I spritzed water on Brenda's glasses. Dad administered some good ear tugs. They hurt like the dickens, but was I going to cry? No way. So I laughed. That created more anger and another tug. Ouch! And I laughed another laugh. I felt like crying. But no way was I going to do that, because one time I did, and Brenda sniffed and said, 1 minute she laughs and the next she cries. That made me feel like dirt. She doesn't know what it is to have your emotions crowding around you and making you feel incredibly mixed up. Everyone looks at me and says, 16? And to think she still has braids. They don't know what it's like. They became Christians when they were practically little squirts, put up their hair and sailed through life with hardly any struggles. I know I'm pitying myself, but I can't help it. I don't even feel comfortable around Dad by myself, because he's always gazing at me and saying, Carolyn, what's holding you back? Well, what is it? It isn't the boy I like. He became a Christian a long time ago. It isn't my girlfriends. They all have their hair up. Mainly, I think it's, I don't know what. Dad says, Carolyn, wouldn't it be nice for you to have your hair up for Merlin and Catherine's wedding on May 15th? I feel like telling him what I've thought 100 million times. I'm done and through with saying I'll have my hair up by so-and-so a time. It started way back when I was 13 years old. One Sunday night, I told myself I was going to become a Christian. But Dad had to talk with Helen. So I planned again for Tuesday night. About 9:30, I backed out. By school, by my 14th birthday, by the revival meetings, by the Gulf War, maybe by my 15th birthday. Next time Catherine's in to visit, by Mark Wayne and Yolanda's wedding, by my 16th birthday. It still hasn't happened. I doubt it will by Merlin and Catherine's wedding next week either. It's just my luck. Does Dad know what he's doing by trying to make me embarrassed about how I look? Does he feel like it makes him look like a bad parent because his daughter is 16 years old and not a Christian? Does he feel like he isn't an effective minister because of me? I wish he knew he wasn't the only one embarrassed here. I wish I could be 10 years old with my 2 horrible braids. I wish I could have my hair up too. I wish I could look like my friends. But I know for that to happen, change has to occur inside me. I know I'm a sinner. Oh, how I know that. But I'm scared to trust God. So far, God hasn't protected me. So why would I choose to let him control every aspect of my life? I'm scared to death of spending eternity in hell. I've been taught that's not why you choose to let Christ into your life, though. You must accept him because of the life he gives you. Some days I want to repent and become a believer just so I don't have to go to hell. However wrong that reasoning is. I feel like I have a closer connection with Satan than I do with Jesus. At least Satan pays me some attention. I know I can never tell anyone that. And I know it's not right. I know all that with my head, but not in my heart. March 24, 1992. Brenda and I got to talking before we went to bed, and we got on the subject of Charles and what he did to me. Brenda said Dad and Mom would have a conniption fit if they ever found out. I wouldn't want them to find out, because it would bring all the details back fresh to the foreground of my memory. I hardly think of them anymore. Brenda said if I ever get married, I will have to tell my husband about it. I don't know if I want to get married. I'll have to cross that bridge when I get to it. I'm determined if I ever have children, I will tell them about sex and not have them going through what I did just because no one will ever tell me about it. I feel so dirty afterward, but I don't really know why. Why did my brother try it on me? Did he want me to turn out like he is? I hope soon God erases it from my memory. Note: Brenda and I had a unique relationship. Until I was 15, I did not like her, and we did nothing together. I bonded with Gerald, who is 3 years younger than I am. One year in school, for our annual program, a bunch of us had to hold candles and each recite something. Mine was, "To my sister I'll be kind. This light of mine I want to mind." I burned inside with anger, because I knew why the teacher had given me that one to recite. It did not make me love Brenda anymore. But once we became friends, we were the best of friends. I always knew she had seen some of the abuse. Maybe that's why I was so angry at her all of those years. I don't know. I sure don't hold her responsible now. She's 2.5 years older. How was she to protect me when the adults couldn't? She and I have only talked about it every couple of years. I don't like talking about it because too many feelings and memories push at me. I honestly think not thinking about it is healthy. There's no solution, so why dwell on what happened? It just makes me feel sick and ashamed.